Hi, this is Team Nuclear from Nuclear Power Supporters, hosted by Pohang Techno Park. For now, we will briefly talk about the meaning and principles of nuclear power. First, let's learn about atoms before we talk about nuclear power. Assume there's a substance and we'll split it again and again. Then, a state that can no longer be split is called an atom. If we look into atoms in more detail, they are made up of nucleus and charged clouds. In the charged cloud, electrons are in orbital motion just like this. And then the nucleus consists of neutrons and protons. So we've briefly talked about atoms, and then you'll be curious, what is nuclear power? Nuclear power is the force generated by the nuclear reaction inside the atom that we talked about earlier. Nuclear reactions include nuclear fusion and division, and among them we are going to deal with nuclear division. When a neutron hits the nucleus collapses, producing a very large amount of energy of 2 to 3 neutrons, fission products, and 200 MeV. So now, you might wonder how mass transforms into energy. Einstein's EMC2 expression shows that mass can be transformed into energy. This conversion process can be converted to energy with an absurdly high mass. For example, if a 101 coin, which is 5.42 gram, is converted to energy, it will be converted to energy of 487 trillion. To give you an easier example, the KTX train can go back and forth 4,830 times from Seoul to Busan with the highest output, and our smartphones can be charged 13 billion times. Actually, in the world of atomic nuclei, 1 gram is a very large number, and even if we change a lot of mass into energy at a time, it will explode right away. However, the ability to get a lot of energy from a small amount of raw material was enough to fascinate scientists in each country to develop nuclear power plants that control it to get electricity. Next, from now on, we'll learn about the principles and types of nuclear power plant. Nuclear power plants refer to power plant facilities that use division reactions that I mentioned previously. The basic theory is very simple. It boils the water using nuclear power to make steam, and by using this, it turns turbines. The part that emits heat to produce steam is called the nuclear reactor, which is the core of a nuclear power plant. Between uranium-238 and uranium-235, uranium-235 is used as fuel inside the reactor. It absorbs neutrons and causes nuclear fission, and in this process, 2 or 3 neutrons get released and get absorbed by other uranium-235s, repeating the process of division. This process is called chain reaction, and nuclear power plants strictly control chain reactions to manage constant power output. However, there is one problem with this process. The neutrons that were emitted when the nucleus divided get released into high-speed neutrons. High-speed neutrons are not absorbed by uranium-235, which is used as a fuel in nuclear power plants, but are absorbed by uranium-238, and this makes the chain reaction impossible to sustain. To prevent this, we need a moderator that absorbs some of the energy from a high-speed neutron to turn it into a low-speed neutron. But most nuclear power plants use water as moderator. The reactor can be distinguished according to the circulation type of coolant and the type of moderator. First, depending on which moderator is used, the reactor is divided into two types, light water reactor and heavy water reactor. Water consists of two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom when used in molecular formula. If the hydrogen atom that makes up the water molecule does not contain neutrons, it is called light water. On the other hand, if it consists of deuterium, tritium, with one or two neutrons, it is called heavy water. Light water reactors are inexpensive because they use moderator, which is easy to get. But they absorb low-speed neutrons well, so low-enriched uranium fuel, which increases the concentration of uranium-235, should be used. In the case of heavy water, since heavy water absorbs less neutrons than light water, the fuel used in heavy water can maintain a chain reaction even if natural uranium is used without enrichment process. However, the problem is that the price of heavy water is high. And plutonium, which is the material of a nuclear bomb, is made more compared to light water reactors. Depending on the circulation type of coolant, it can be divided into boiling water reactor and into pressurized water reactor. A boiling water reactor is a method of boiling water in a reactor, generating steam, and then heating the turbine by turning it around. The facility is cheap because the configuration is not that complex. However, because of the structure of direct fuel-driven coolant entering the turbine from the reactor, turbine and condensers might leak radioactivity and have the disadvantage of shielding every part of nuclear power plant. The pressurized water reactor heats the water that is used as cooling and reducing material in the reactor to more than 300 degrees by pressurizing it to 150 atmospheric pressure to prevent evaporation. The heated water in the primary system transfers heat to the secondary system through a steam generator for heat exchange, and the heated water from the secondary system generates steam and turns the turbine. Pressurized water reactors have the advantage in radiation shielding because water from the reactor does not directly enter the turbine. And most of the reactors currently in operation are simplified pressurized water reactor that use pressurized water type and light water as moderator. So this was the explanation of the nuclear power plant, and next we learn about the limitations of nuclear power generation. There are many issues about the limitations of nuclear power plants. Nuclear power generation is considered one of the most eco-friendly and efficient energy, so it is said to be a substitute for thermal power generation. However, nuclear power generation is not yet a long-term alternative to thermal power generation. Nuclear power is being managed fairly safely and well to prevent accidents, but nuclear power is being turned around and the remaining byproducts from it are still emitting strong radioactivity. Nuclear waste generated by nuclear power generation is divided into high, middle, ultra-low, and low-level waste depending on the intensity of radioactivity, and the double problem is the used fuel relevant to high-level waste. Used fuel refers to uranium-238 and plutonium-like ones left after using uranium fuel to generate energy. They are actually relatively small compared to the total nuclear waste, but they are highly toxic and have a very long half-life. In other words, it releases strong radiation for a very long time. They are first stored in a tank inside a nuclear power plant because if we don't do that, the problem will be caused by the high heat that is released continuously. The heat released must be stored for at least 100 years to fall below the standard, but this storage facility is now becoming scarce. So, how should we deal with them? There are some ideas for dealing with spent nuclear fuel, such as sending it into space, dumping it in the sea, or burying it in the ground, and the most realistic way is to bury it in the ground. However, it is not easy to find proper land in our country because we have to bury it very deeply. So, what should we do to prevent nuclear proliferation and use spent nuclear fuel simultaneously? The fourth generation reactor is currently under research and development for this, and in Korea we are focusing on the sodium-cooled fast reactor. So, in the next video we'll cover about what the fourth generation reactor is, and why we need it, and what the principle is. This was Team Nuclear, and thank you for watching.